The photo came while I was on my lunch break at St. Luke's Hospital in downtown Boise. A happy group on a brand new porch. My parents, my older sisters Jasmine and Camille, their husbands, the grandkids, even the dog. All wearing matching shirts, all smiling like they just won the Powerball. My mother held a chalkboard that read, "The family that stayed together." Except I wasn't in it. Not just missing, erased. I stared at that photo for a full minute. I thought maybe it was old, maybe from a party I missed. But there, in my niece's hand, was a balloon, Happy 2025. It had been taken this week. And there was the new house, their dream home, the one I helped fund. And they didn't tell me they moved in. I didn't reply, didn't ask why, didn't text back. I closed the photo and went back to my shift. But that image burned through my mind like acid. That night, I showed it to my husband, Elijah. He stared, then said, "Guess we're not family anymore." He didn't ask questions, just rinsed the dishes and turned on the news. 3 weeks later, my parents showed up at our door. They brought a dozen stale donuts and smiles so forced I could practically hear their teeth grinding. They didn't mention the photo, didn't explain the move. They sat on our couch like nothing had happened and casually said they were short on funds. Just needed a few thousand to finish the basement, some insulation, drywall, maybe a little home theater for the grandkids. My father, Curtis, said it like he was asking to borrow sugar. My mother, Nadine, joked, "You and Elijah can come watch movies with us when it's all done." I said nothing. Let the silence hang until it strangled the air. Then I stood up and said, "You built it without me. Finish it without me." Curtis turned scarlet. Nadine's eyes welled up. Then the shouting started, how ungrateful I was, how I'd forgotten all they'd done for me, how dare I treat them like this. They left furious. But I'd never felt more calm. I turned to Elijah and whispered, "I want the money back." He didn't blink, just said, "Are you ready for what comes with that?" I was. Let's pause here. What would you do if your family took your money, cut you out of their lives, then came begging? Comment below and hit like if you've ever been the black sheep turned lion. Now here's where things twist. Elijah and I reviewed every dollar. I pulled out the manila envelope labeled, "Loan to Parents 2023. $18,000 for the land, $7,000 for HVAC, $25,000 total. I sent them a message, "You owe us $25,000. Let me know how and when you'll repay it." No reply. 3 days later, I resent it. Still silence. Then Nadine called like nothing had happened. "Hey honey, you doing okay? We're having the grandkids over Sunday, want to come by?" I asked if she got my message. Long pause, then, "Money's been tight, sweetheart. Don't let this ruin family," I said. "Then return what you owe." She hung up. Next, we lawyered up. Sent a certified demand letter, included receipts, texts, even a birthday card where Nadine had written, "We'll pay you back when taxes come in. Love you always." Their response? Curtis called Elijah and said I was hysterical. Said the money was a gift, that we had a family understanding not to keep track. Elijah said Deborah never agreed to that. Then hung up. That's when my younger sister Camille texted, furious. "Why are you suing mom and dad over a couple $100? A couple hundred?" I sent her the receipts. She went silent for 3 hours, then said, "They told me it was just grocery money. I didn't know." And then she said something that made my stomach twist. "They borrowed from Uncle Ray too." Ray lives in Coeur d'Alene. Ex-Marine. Quiet, doesn't take crap. I called him. He said, "They got $15,000 from me last year. Told me the builder bylaid." "You mean they got money from you too?" I emailed him everything. He called back and said, "Let me take care of it." 2 days later, Ray paid them a visit, and whatever he said, it landed hard, because the next text I got from Nadine just said, "Can we please talk about this?" But I'd barely scratched the surface. They showed up again, same truck, same porch. This time, Curtis wore a collared shirt like he thought looking professional would undo the months of lies. I didn't invite them in. Elijah stood behind me, arms crossed, silent. Nadine clutched a thick folder and said, "It's just a quote from the contractor. For the basement, we're so close." I looked her dead in the eyes. "That your payment plan or another sob story?" Curtis grunted. Nadine opened the folder. Paint, flooring, soundproof insulation. Over $9,000 in total. And a note from the contractor, final payment due within 10 days or work halts. She smiled, and said, "We thought if we could settle this, we could all just move on." I handed the folder back. You built it without me, you finish it without me. Curtis lost it. He called me ungrateful, said I was poisoning the family. Accused Elijah of manipulating me. I didn't flinch. I told him, "You're lucky Uncle Ray has a shred of patience. If it were just me, I'd let you rot in that unfinished hole." Curtis shoved his hand in his pocket and muttered something I couldn't catch. Then he snapped, "We raised you. You think you're better than your own blood." Elijah stepped forward. Calm, deadly calm, he said, "She doesn't think she's better. She knows she's done better, and now she's done being used." They stormed off. Later that week, our lawyer filed the official suit. Curtis and Nadine were served at home. Nadine called that night sobbing. Curtis sent Elijah a voice memo calling us both pathetic traitors. Then came the smear campaign. A burner Facebook account popped up under the name Deborah Mattheis. Same profile photo as mine, slightly misspelled name. It messaged Elijah's coworkers, claimed I was unstable, claimed Elijah was forcing me into court, claimed I was suicidal and needed help. Our lawyer called it textbook slander. We added it to our case file. Then someone emailed Elijah's employer from a fake address, claimed he was under criminal investigation and might pose a financial threat to company reputation. Elijah's boss, not an idiot, he pulled Elijah into his office and said, "You've got enemies, but I've got your back." We traced the burner email to a Wi-Fi network registered to Nadine's church. Subtle, right? That same week, Camille messaged me again. "Mom told Aunt Tricia that you forged her signature on the loan docs." I laughed. Then I sent Camille the audio. Uncle Ray had recorded their last visit. Curtis admitted, on tape, that he moved money into a separate account once the legal letters arrived. Said he was protecting assets. Ray said, "So you admit you still have the money, just hidden?" Dead silence on the recording. It wasn't dead anymore. It was fraudulent concealment. We filed an emergency motion. Within days, 2 of their accounts were frozen. Their contractor bilaid. Left the basement half-finished. Drywall stacked in piles, wires exposed. One wall was just pink foam and sadness. And then, they did the unthinkable. They showed up at Uncle Ray's again, begging, pleading, not for more money, for him to settle the case. Pay off the $25,000 for them. He called me, said, "I'll do it." I said, "Ray, you don't have to." He said, "I know. But I want to, because they're about to learn something." We signed the agreement. Ray paid the full $25,000 into our lawyer's escrow. The lawsuit was settled. But Ray doesn't forget debts. The moment the money hit our account, we felt it. Not joy, not relief, just stillness. Elijah and I ordered Chinese takeout that night and watched Jeopardy. In silence, we didn't speak until the final round. He looked over and said, "Best money we ever got back." I nodded. "And the best people to lose." Days passed. Then weeks. No more door visits, no emails, no cryptic messages from Nadine, no burner Facebook pages, just silence, too quiet, until the payments started bouncing. Ray had set up a repayment schedule with Curtis and Nadine. Interest included. First month, nothing. Second month, bounce check. Third, radio silence. Ray hit them with penalties. Curtis called Camille and said he was being robbed by his own brother. Ray, unshaken. He told Camille, "They begged me to pay the debt. Now they're crying because I expect repayment. That's not family, they're leeches." Then came the most humiliating part. Curtis tried to refinance the house, but the appraisal came back low. Why? Because the entire basement was a wreck. Half-done, mold creeping in, exposed pipes, electrical wires dangling like jungle vines. A literal safety hazard. The appraiser wrote, "Unlivable lower level significantly reduces property value." No bank would touch them. So they started selling things. It started small, an expensive espresso machine, a vintage record player, then Nadine's prized elliptical, then their guest room furniture. Camille messaged me. They sold their treadmill. The one Mom bragged about on Facebook for 6 months. I found the listing. Lightly used, downsizing, $300 OBO. I read the comments. Someone wrote, "Thought y'all just built a mansion." Another said, "Can't run from karma, even with this machine." And it only got worse. At Home Depot, Curtis was spotted trying to use an expired 10% off coupon on laminate flooring. This was the same man who once mocked a cashier for offering loyalty rewards. Ray saw it happen, left me a voicemail, laughing so hard I could barely understand him. I've never seen Curtis so desperate. He asked if they had an open box discount on insulation. But the final straw, they came back to my house. Again, uninvited. Curtis knocked, Nadine behind him holding a thick binder this time, not donuts, not fake apologies. Just need a little help, she said. Contractors threatening legal action. The basement, I cut her off. No, Curtis's face twisted. You're really going to let us fall apart over this? We're family. You were, I said. Now you're just two strangers standing on a porch they didn't pay for. Nadine tried to plead. Said the grandkids missed me. Said they were sorry about the photo, the lies, the lawsuit, the fake messages. I asked, sorry enough to admit what you did? She froze. I pressed. Tell me, Nadine, right here. Did you send the emails to Elijah's job? Did you make the burner account? She looked down. Curtis growled, you'll never let it go. Elijah stepped forward. Calm, like always, said, she's not holding a grudge. She's holding you accountable. Curtis turned red. You ruined her, Elijah smiled. No, I just reminded her she deserves better. I shut the door, hard. 3 days later, we got an alert. Curtis and Nadine tried to take out a personal loan using Camille as a cosigner. She'd refused, said she was done being a cushion for bad choices. And then something incredible happened. Ray filed his own suit. They'd defaulted on his repayment plan, missed every deadline, tried to delay with sob stories. Ray didn't play, he sued them, publicly, in open court. And the day the case was filed, the local Boise Eagle Tribune ran a small piece titled, Local Couple Sued by Brother Over Unpaid Loan Linked to Family Feud. Their name, their house, their shame, plastered in the Sunday paper. That afternoon, Elijah and I sat on our porch with lemonade and watched the wind rustle through our quiet, peaceful yard. He looked at me and said, do you think they'll ever finish that basement? I shook my head. I hope not. The house went up for sale a month later, not through a realtor, through a for sale by owner listing, desperate and poorly written. The title read, Custom Home with Tons of Potential, Minor Basement Repairs Needed. Minor, Evan sent us photos. The basement looked like a set from a post-apocalyptic film. Bare studs, insulation spilling out like cotton candy, loose nails and electrical boxes hanging at odd angles. Even the stairs looked unsafe. One had snapped at the edge and been repaired with duct tape and a prayer. But the worst part, they listed it for $150,000 more than they bought it for. Delusion. They had no choice. Ray's lawsuit was moving forward, and without a refinance or a second income, they had no way to cover their ballooning debts. No buyers came, not one. They dropped the price, again. And again, Nadine posted on Facebook, hard to let go of a home filled with love, but time for a new chapter. Ray commented, make sure that chapter includes a check. Curtis lost it, unfriended half the family, blocked Ray. Then made a post of his own. When you do everything for your kids and they betray you for money, remember God sees. Camille replied, so does small claims court. But karma wasn't done. A contractor, yes, another one, filed a lien on the house, said he was never paid for materials. That was public record now, too. Nadine tried to spin it. We're victims of a dishonest worker. But the lie was too thin. They weren't just broke. They were known. In town, in family circles, even at their old church. Whispers followed them everywhere. Aren't those the people who sued their own daughter? Didn't they fake a breakdown? What happened to the dream home? And the final blow. They begged Ray to forgive the debt again. But this time, Ray didn't just say no. He made them an offer. He'd buy the house. Cash, at a reduced rate. The offer was insulting. Nearly $200,000 under asking. But it would clear the liens and allow them to walk away without total bankruptcy. Curtis refused. Nadine begged. Ray waited. 1 month later, they folded. Ray bought the house. And then, he sent Elijah and me an invitation. He was renovating the place. Not to live in, to rent it out. And he wanted us to come see the progress. We drove up the long driveway we once helped fund. The porch still had that same cheesy chalkboard sign hanging off a nail. The family that stayed together. Ray handed it to me. You want to keep this? He asked. I shook my head. Burn it, he smiled. Already planned to. The basement. Ray gutted it. Ripped out every half-assed nail, every inch of bad wiring. Clean slate. And he turned it into an apartment. Rented it out to a young couple, just moved from Seattle, no family nearby, both teachers. Sweet, respectful, and stable. Curtis and Nadine. They moved into a two-bedroom apartment near the edge of Meridian. Curtis drives for a delivery service now. Nadine took up sewing to try and sell things on Etsy. Last I heard, they still blame me, but they've stopped contacting me. Probably because they know there's nothing left to steal. No more just a bit of help requests. No more guilt-tripping voicemails, just distance. And quiet. As for me and Elijah, we used that settlement money to start something small. A real savings account. A new water heater. A trip to Jackson Hole next spring. Nothing flashy, just solid, just ours. Sometimes we drive past the old house. The new tenants added a vegetable garden where Curtis once talked about putting in a hot tub. It's peaceful now. Ray texted me last week. They're 2 payments behind, want me to evict them from the past? I laughed and said, nah, let 'em look at what could have been. Every single day. Curtis and Nadine built a castle of manipulation on a foundation of lies. And now they live under the weight of every brick they placed. As for me, I don't think about them much anymore. But every time someone asks if I'm close with my family, I just smile and say, yes, me and Elijah are solid. And that's the truth. The rest, they can stay in their unfinished basement. Forever.